Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC EduSet live lecture, as well as welcome you all in this month of June, because for this month also we have scheduled for you the most productive lectures with different topics. As per as this lecture is concerned, today we are going to talk about operations research. We have carried certain lectures also in the previous sessions and the previous lectures. We talked about this very topic, and continuing further from those lectures we are going to talk on the various aspects of the operations research, that is formulation of the problems as well as solution with the softwares, as well as we are going to learn more about or understand about the simplex method, what this simplex method is. I know you might be confusing yourself, what is this method? No need to confuse yourself, because for this we have with us in our studios Dr. Subhash Kakkar. He is a management expert, as well as he has immense experience in corporate as well as academic sector. So first of all, I would like to welcome our guest Dr. Subhash Kakkar. Dr. Kakkar, you are welcome in this EduSet lecture of ours, and all the students, all the viewers who are desperately watching for this lecture and want to know what is the simplex method and the other more terminology which is related to the operations research, I would like you to carry this lecture forward.
Thank you, Gitika, and welcome viewers to today's lecture on operations research. It is in continuation of my earlier lectures which were delivered last month. In those lectures, I discussed applications of operations research, and I also covered definition of operations research. Then I devoted some time to understand a graphical method to find out the solution of a problem, and we covered some portion of software also. Today I will be devoting some time on the formulation of a problem. Quickly I will review the graphical solution and then use of software, and most of the time will be devoted to the simplex method. Now, first and the foremost job in solving any problem is to first formulate the problem, and before formulating the problem we must understand the problem thoroughly. I will take the earlier example only, and I shall be doing this problem using simplex method. The problem is same. A small factory produces two types of toys, cars and dolls. In the manufacturing process, two machines are used, molder and the assembler. A doll needs 2 hours on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. A car needs 1 hour on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. The molder can be operated for 16 hours a day and the assembler for 9 hours a day. Each doll gives a profit of rupees 16 and each car gives a profit of rupees 14. The profit needs to be maximized. This is the statement of the problem. And how do we formulate it? We'll just quickly see. The steps are, first we have to pick out important information, and what that important information is, which is stated in the problem. A small factory produces two types of toys, cars and dolls. The toys which are being manufactured are cars and dolls. And in the manufacturing process, two machines are used. One is molder and the other one is assembler. This is an important statement and it has been picked up. The next important statement is, a doll needs 2 hours on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. A car needs 1 hour on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. And this is the time required for making these toys on these two machines, molder and assembler, are given. And next important statement is, the molder can be operated for 16 hours a day and the assembler for 9 hours a day. So this capacity is also given. And fourth statement, which is very important, the profit portion. Each doll gives a profit of 16 and each car gives a profit of rupees 14. So, by manufacturing these toys, the profit is also given. Now, we will pick up all these important statements and we will formulate the problem. We know that doll needs 2 hours on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. A car needs 1 hour on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. So, how to make the constraints? How to make the formula for solving this problem? And the molder can be operated for 16 hours a day and the assembler for 9 hours a day. This is the capacity is given. So, capacity constraints will be formed. So, now we are going to formulate the constraints. Earlier we have discussed the important issues raised in the problem. Whatever statements were very important, we have picked them and now we are going to formulate the constraints. Rather, we are going to formulate the problem. So, these two basic statements and we will have a constraint for them. Just using the decision variables. Decision variables are those variables for which we are going to get the answers. D is the number of dolls to be produced, C is the number of cars. So, we have taken D and C as decision variables and make two constraints from these. We have to now make two constraints, one for the molder, other for the assembler, because the capacities are fixed and which are given and recorded here. Now, forming constraint number 1, the molder portion, the machine which is called molder. A doll needs 2 hours on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. One car needs 1 hour on the molder, 1 hour on the assembler. So, how to make the constraint for it? Only molder portion. The molder can be operated for 16 hours a day and the assembler for 9 hours a day. So, this is our constraint number 1. 2D plus C and it should be less than equal to 16. Maximum it can be 16 but it should be less than 16 or at the most it can be equal to 16. And the next constraint, constraint number 2. And this is for the second machine which is called assembler. A doll needs 2 hours on the molder, 1 hour on the assembler. A car needs 1 hour on the molder and 1 hour on the assembler. And both the tires, if we see the statement carefully, both the tires require 1 hour on the assembler each. The molder can be operated for 16 hours a day, but we are now talking about the assembler. Assembler requires 9 hours a day. It operates only 9 hours a day. So, we will have a constraint D plus C is less than equal to 9. As earlier we stated, the maximum value of D plus C can be 9. Now, constraints have been formed. The next portion left is formulate the objective function. Now, we have to state the objective function also. Objective function is the profit portion. Each doll gives a profit of 16 and each car gives a profit of 14. So, what is the objective function? Let Z be the total profit. Formulate the objective function and this is like this. Z is equal to 16D plus 14C. Why? Because each doll gives a profit of 16 and each car gives a profit of 14. Z is a profit and we have to maximize this profit. So, mathematical form of the problem is now maximize Z is equal to 16D plus 14C subject to the constraints, and these constraints are same what we have already made. 2D plus C less than equal to 16 and D plus C less than equal to 9. These two constraints, and C is greater than equal to 0, D is greater than equal to 0. The third portion, third constraint is nothing but non-negativity constraint. C and D cannot have negative values. So, very important, it is very important that C and D will have either 0 or more than 0, all positive values. So, do not forget your non-negativity constraint, these three constraints and one objective function. This is the formulation of the problem. The problem formulation. Now, I will give a very simplified method to formulate the problem. Okay, just go to the statement, read it thoroughly and pick the variables, decision variables. How many number of these variables are there? Then you have to make those columns for each variable. Now there are two variables, we'll have two columns and one column for the statement. So just see how this problem is formulated. Two columns have been formed, and on one side I have written variables. Variables are dolls and cars, and symbols used for dolls and cars, D and C, will mention D and C also. This D is for dolls, C is for cars. Okay. Now read the statement of the problem and pick the relevant portion, and I have picked the relevant portion. The doll needs 2 hours on the molder. Now I am talking about the molder only, and a car needs 1 hour on the molder, and the molder can be operated for 16 hours a day. This statement is there, and this statement is to be written in the mathematical form. First we will see how it is to be recorded. Just see, molder 2 under the doll, 1 under the car, because doll requires 2 hours and the car requires 1 hour, and the capacity of the molder is 16 hours a day. So it has been written less than equal to 16. Now similarly other statement will pick it up, and this statement is a doll needs 1 hour and a car also needs 1 hour on the assembler, and this we are recording for the assembler machine, and the assembler can be operated for 9 hours a day. So its capacity is 9 hours per day. So how to record it? We will write assembler and 1 hour under the dolls and 1 hour under the cars, and its capacity is 9. That's why we have written less than equal to 9. Now for the profit portion, each doll gives a profit of rupees 16 and each car gives a profit of rupees 14. How to record it? Just look at the screen. Profit portion 16 and 14. 16 is for doll and 14 is for car. So this is the way to write the statements of the problem, and initial table is to be made like this, and now we have to make the equations, mathematical equations, and that we are going to call as formulation of the problem. Just look at the screen only. The first constraint is written like this: 2D plus C less than equal to 16, and D plus C again less than equal to 9. These are capacity constraints, and the profit is to be maximized. Z is equal to 16, D plus 14C, and we should not forget the non-negativity constraints. It means D and C will always be greater than equal to 0. So this now formulates the problem. Again we will repeat the initial slide just to see the formulation. 2D plus C is less than equal to 16, first constraint, and D plus C less than equal to 9, this is going to be the second constraint, and the profit maximize Z, this is our objective function 16D plus 14C, and D and C both are greater than equal to 0. This is called the non-negativity constraint. So linear programming problem, maximize Z is equal to 16D plus 14C subject to the constraints 2D plus C less than equal to 16. Next is D plus C again less than equal to 9. These two are capacity constraints, and non-negativity constraints C and D both are greater than equal to 0. This is very important, one should not forget. So don't forget your non-negativity constraints. Okay. Solution with software. We'll quickly review what we did last time. This is the screenshot of the Lingo spreadsheet, and the same problem is recorded here. First equation is maximize, because it is the profit to be maximized 16D plus 14C, and don't forget to put semicolon, and 2D plus C, the first constraint less than equal to 16, D plus C again less than equal to 9, and again I repeat, don't forget to write semicolon at the end of the equation. Then you have to hit the target. The moment you hit the target, you will get the solution. Just look at the slide, and this is the solution you will get. So D is 7, C is 2, and objective function value is 140. This is the same thing what we saw with the graphical solution. So we should produce 2 cars every day and 7 dolls every day, and then we'll have the maximum profit of rupees 140. This is a solution which we have achieved with the help of a software. The name of the software is Lingo. I'll just now touch about sensitivity. Sensitivity in analysis. We'll see what is the effect of changing the values of D and C and constraints, etc., and what is going to happen to our objective function. Here in this particular case, it is not exactly the same previous problem. Here in the constraints, both the constraints are retained. There is no change in the constraints, but the objective function is changed a bit. Here I am putting it like the profit is to be maximized, and the profit from each doll is 16 and the profit from each car is 28 instead of 14. And in this particular case, we have recorded the objective function as maximize 16D plus 28C, and both the constraints are same, they are retained. 2D plus C is less than equal to 16, 2D plus C is less than equal to 9. Again, if we hit the target, we will get the solution, and we call it as a global solution. And in this particular problem, the profit is 252, and solution is we should not produce any doll at all, and whatever capacity is available, that should be utilized to produce only cars, and that process will maximize our profit. So this is the way to use a software, and this is the way to get our solution. Now I'll give you the meaning of the value, meaning of reduced cost, what is slack or surplus. The first portion, the reduced cost, I am explaining now the meaning of reduced cost, which is written in the third column. Just see. The meaning is the reduced cost for any variable that is included in the optimal solution is always 0. Any variable which is included in the final solution, the reduced cost will always be 0. For variables not included in the optimal solution, the reduced cost should how much the value of the objective function, and would decrease for a maximum problem and increase for a minimum problem. Maximization and minimization, in both cases the value will be different. In first case, objective function would decrease if it is a maximization problem. If it is a minimization problem, it will increase. Unit of that variable were to be included in the solution. So this is the meaning of reduced cost. And now we will explain the slack or surplus, the meaning of slack or surplus. The slack or surplus column in the solution report shows how tight the constraint is. If a constraint is completely satisfied as an equality, means all the constraint values are fully utilized, and we can ignore the inequality sign, we can make it equal sign, means fully utilization of all the constraint, then slack oblique surplus is 0. Otherwise we will get some value. If slack surplus is positive, then this tells you how many more units of the variable could be added to the optimal solution before the constraint becomes an equality. It will give you how many units can further be added, so that constraints are instead of inequality sign, they are made like equality sign. So slack surplus is negative, then the constraint has been violated. It should not be negative. Negative means the constraint has been violated. The third and the important part to be understood in software is the dual price, which is shown in the last and the bottom portion. this one, dual price. The dual price column describes the amount to which the value of the objective function would improve if the constraining value is increased by 1 unit. If say constraining value is 16 and 9, if it is increased by 1 unit, and this particular dual price will show the amount to which the value of the objective function would improve if the constraining value is increased by 1 unit. So this is all about the software which we have used for getting to the solution to our problem. Now we'll quickly now discuss simplex method, which I said that this particular method will devote more time. This is a special method to find the solution to any LP problem. Today we will discuss a problem which has an objective function as maximization, and for maximization we have a different solution, and a separate solution is available for minimization problem also. Today we are going to devote time on a problem where objective function is maximization, and we will see what all operations are there in simplex method. So I will give you step by step guide. Already we have seen how to formulate the problem, and we have seen very thoroughly, and I have given you a very simplified method also to formulate the problem. Meaning of formulation of a problem is to convert the written statements in the form of mathematical equations. When once this has been done, then we are going to introduce slack variables, because already we have considered decision variables. Now we are going to introduce slack variables. Again I am going to tell you what is the meaning of slack variables. Okay, to change inequalities, say our constraints were in the form of inequalities. Both the constraints were in the form of less than equal to less than equal to. We have to convert them into equalities, and this less than equal to sign should be only equal to sign. So if we convert this less than equal to sign into equal to sign, that means we have converted inequality into equality. So we have to convert inequality into equality, and for this we shall be introducing slack variables. I will give you an equation and then I will explain. The first constraint was 2d plus c less than equal to 16. So if it is less than equal to 16, it will be either 16 when it is just equal to 16, but if it is less than 16, so something should be added to 2d plus c to make it equal to 16. So that something which is going to be added to 2d plus c is called slack variable. This slack variable will always be positive, or s will be greater than equal to 0. So it cannot have negative values. So again this will be non-negative. And similar, the second constraint, d plus c. So instead of now s, this is the second equation, we cannot use s because s is for the first constraint, and we are using a different variable which is t. So t is used to make d plus c less than equal to 9 as equality. Okay, we have removed inequality and we have made it equality. So as earlier stated, d plus c is less than equal to 9. If something is less than equal to some figure, so it means something should be added to it so that it becomes equal to that particular figure. So something is added, and that something is nothing but t. T is another slack variable for the second constraint. D plus c plus t is equal to 9. Now both the constraints are converted into equalities. So this was particularly required a bit of explanation, because once this is understood, then the entire simplex method will become very, very simple to understand and very simple to operate also. Now these two constraints have been converted into equality. And the next is, now the new linear programming problem will look like: maximize our objective function is z is equal to 16d plus 14c, and this is the earlier expression, but slack variables s and t are also put here, and the coefficients are put 0 in both cases, because in this case it was a equality already, so we cannot have any slack variable here, a coefficient for any slack variable. So 0 has been added here, so as a coefficient for both the slack variables s and t. Now the subject to the constraints, and these constraints are now our equality equations: 2d plus c plus s. Of course, in this first equation s was the slack variable which was applicable, but t was missing here, so we have given a coefficient of 0 in this particular equation, so 0t and then equal to 16. And similarly the second constraint, in that constraint d and c of course were there, but s was missing, so 0 coefficient has been added here in the slack variable s and plus t, and a unit coefficient is added here t. So this equation now is d plus c plus 0 s plus t is equal to 9, and then of course our non-negativity constraint c and d already we studied are greater than equal to 0, and we have mentioned right now s and t slack variables are greater than equal to 0. So this is a new means formulation. Okay, the same formulation is now modified because we are going to use simplex method, and now we are going to form the initial table, and we call it form initial tableau. And how to make it, we will just see. We want to put all the information in the form of a table. This is called the initial tableau. How to now make the table? First we have to convert z, that is objective function, in a understandable form and which can be used in our simplex method. In this equation our objective function is z is equal to 16d plus 14c plus 0s plus 0t. Now just look at this equation, and this is going to be modified, and this is a modified equation. 0 has been taken on one side, all other expressions are taken on other side. Z minus 16d minus 14c minus 0s minus 0t is equal to 0. So this is a modified form of the objective function, and this form is going to be used in our simplex method and its solution. Now the first table, now look at the table and understand it thoroughly. It will have basic variables, decision variables, and this table, as there are two variables, slack variables, and objective function, of course there will be 4 rows and overall 6 columns. The first, we have written basic variables d, c, s and t, and the last column is column of values. The first column s and t are slack variables, z of course is the objective function. So s and t are to be specified and the objective function is to be specified. This is the way how to make the first initial table. The first table, how it is prepared. Now how to now fill up the cells and with the different values. I am going to demonstrate that. First constraint was 2d plus 1c plus 1s plus 0t is equal to 16. This is constraint converted to equality, and we are going to drop the coefficients. And in the first row, just look at the slide, all these coefficients have been taken down. Is the D has a coefficient of 2, 2 has been written in the first cell under D, and similarly C has a coefficient of 1 and 1 is written under C. Again S has a coefficient of 1, S, and 1 is written under S, and T has a coefficient 0, so 0 has been written, and the last value is 16, 16 has been written in the value column. So understand how the coefficients are written. Now I am explaining the simplex method. This is for first constraint. Similar for the second constraint, we shall be writing the coefficients in the second row. And the second equation is 1d plus 1c plus 0s plus 1t is equal to 9. So under D 1 will be written, under C again 1 will be written, under S of course 0 will be written because 0 is the coefficient of S in this particular constraint. Under T 1 will be written, and under value 19 will be written, 9 will be written. So just look at the slide, and 1, 1, 0, 1 and 9 have been written. And similarly for the objective function we are going to write. So objective function was modified, z minus 16, d minus 14, c, 0s, 0t, and value is 0. So first under D we are going to write what? Minus 16. Under C we are going to write minus 14. Again under S 0, under T 0, and finally value is also 0. Just look at the slide and how this objective function is now written. So these are having negative coefficients. So this last is our objective row. This is the objective row where we want to have the final solution. Okay, now the next step is identify pivotal column. I'll define what is a pivot, what is a pivotal column, what is a pivotal row. This is now initial table, and we are going to find the pivotal column. The pivotal column is found by the objective row. We look at the objective row, the value which is the most negative value, that will give us the pivot column, and in this particular case minus 16 is the maximum negative value. So minus 16, and under the variable D is the pivot column. So this is the pivot column. This is the most negative coefficient with corresponding variable D, and its column is called the pivotal column, is now the entering variable. D will be the entering variable. D, what is the variable in this particular column? This is the pivotal column, so D is the variable, and D will be called the variable which is entering, and this tells us only this information. This is the pivot column and this is the entering variable. Now the next is we have to find out the theta values. Next is we have to find out the theta values. But what is a theta? Again we are going to identify it. This is the same table. We identify positive entries in the pivotal column. The column under D is the pivotal column. The positive values are 2 and 1, and corresponding values in the last column 16 and 9. We'll divide 16 by 2, we'll divide 9 by 1, and we'll see what are these values, and these values are called theta values, 2 and 1, and finally we'll divide each entry in the value column by the corresponding positive value in the pivotal column. Okay. And identify pivotal row, and this is being done to identify the pivotal row. We have already found the pivotal column and we are going to identify the pivotal row. And how to do it? We have divided what was written in the statement. Theta is 16 by 2 is 8, and for row 2 theta is 9 by 1. Out of these two, 8 and 9, which is the lowest value, that will be corresponding to the pivotal row. The row with the smallest theta value is called the pivotal row. And here the pivotal row is the row 1. We will go back to the table and we will see which is the row 1 and which is the pivotal row. And then finally we will identify the pivot. Now look at this table. Our pivotal column is the column under D. We have already understood. And the first row is our pivotal row, because it has the least theta value. Its value was 2 or its value was 8, because 16 by 2 is 8, 9 by 1 is 9, and lesser of these two values, 8 and 9, is 8. 8 corresponds to the first row, so the first row is pivotal row. So it is shown in the slide also, and where these two cross, pivotal column and pivotal row, that particular cell is called the pivot of this problem. So 2 is the pivot of this problem, because 2 is the cell where pivotal row and the pivotal column are crossing. So this is the pivot, 2 is the pivot. Next, we have found pivot of this problem. So pivoting is to be done now. Replace the leaving variable with the entering variable. In the first table, leaving variable is S and the entering variable is D. Divide all entries in the pivotal row by the pivot. So all values in that particular pivot row will be divided by 2, so that the pivot becomes 1 instead of 2. Add suitable multiples of the pivotal row to all other rows until all entries apart from the pivot in the pivotal column are 0. And these 3 steps are to be clearly understood so that we can go ahead with our method, which is called simplex method. Again, first, what is the replacing variable and what is the entering variable? Replacing variable is with respect to the pivot column. Here in our case it was D, and leaving variable is with respect to the pivotal row, which was S. S will be replaced by D. This is the meaning of this first particular statement. And then next step is to be done is divide the entire values in the pivot row by the pivot value. In this particular case, pivot value was 2. So everything will be divided by 2 in this particular row, because then it becomes easy to manipulate any other thing further. And further thing we have to do is all the values in the pivot column, we have to make them 0. And this will be done by suitably multiplying the pivot row values, either positive or negative, and then adding or subtracting to the other rows, so that that particular value in the pivot column becomes 0. Now I will demonstrate also what I mean by what I have told just now. So first is the initial table marked with pivot. Pivot is 2, D is entering variable, S is leaving variable, and the bottom table is to be now filled up, and all these values in this pivot column, say in particular second row where 1 is there and the third row minus 16 is there, we have to make all these values as 0. Okay. Replace the leaving variable with the entering variable. Just look at the demonstration. So D has been put instead of S, and then divide all entries in the pivotal row by the pivot I told. So what will be the values now? 2 is divided by 2 and it becomes 1, 1 is divided by 2, it becomes 1 by 2, again 1 is divided by 2, it becomes 1 by 2, 0 is divided by 2, it becomes 0, 16 is divided by 2, it becomes 8. So all these values are now converted to 1, half, half and 0 and finally 8. So this is the way to convert the pivot as unit value. So unit value is achieved by dividing all the values by the pivot value. And the next step, I told, say the value 1 in the D column against T will be brought to 0, and similarly the value minus 16 in the objective function row will be brought to 0. If we are able to make this as 0, this step will be over. So just look at the slide. This was initial. Add suitable multiples of the pivotal row to all other rows until all entries apart from the pivot in the pivotal column are 0. So row 2, half row 1 gives row 2 minus, so we have to do what? Row 2, just look at the table, row 2 minus half the row 1. Look at the pivot column, we have to make against T, which is written 1, as 0. It is possible only if I divide the first row by 2 and subtract it from the second row. So let's see, if I divide 2 by 2, it becomes 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So if I divide the second value under C, 1 by 2 and subtract it from the second row value 1, it becomes half. Similarly under S, if I divide 1 by 2, it becomes half, and if I subtract it from 0, it becomes minus 1 by 2. So similarly all other values are to be done. Okay, and if under T it is 0, if I divide 0 by 2, it will become 0, and if I subtract it from 1, it will remain 1 only. Similarly, the value 16 will be divided by 2, it becomes 8. When 8 is subtracted from 9, it becomes 1. So the new values will be now under T. We have to now change the values of the row which starts with T. Now look at the values: 0, half, minus half, 1 and 1. This is what I earlier told. And how it is done? How it is done? The first row is divided by 2 and subtracted from the second row. So all figures are now changed, but we have achieved our aim that we wanted the value 1 should become 0, because all the values in the pivot column except the pivot, we have to bring them to 0. This is the second row has been put, and now the third row also. We'll see how it is done. Third row, the second row has been replaced and the 0 has been put. Okay, and third row is minus 16, minus 14, 0, 0, 0, and the first row has already been written with the pivot divided by the pivot value, and all are now changed values are written. So how this can be achieved? If we multiply the first row values with 16 and add them to the final third row which contains Z, we'll have the figures as shown. The first will multiply the first row with 16. So first row multiplied by 16, the first cell will have 16, the cell under C will have half into 16 is 8. Similarly, the value under S, half into 16 is 8, 0 into 16 is 0, and 16 multiplied by 8 is 128. Now this 16, all these values will be added to the third row value, and the value against Z in the pivot column will become 0. Just look at this. Say 16 plus minus 16 is 0, minus 14 plus 8 is minus 6, 0 plus 8 is 8, 0 plus 0 is 0, 128 plus 0 is 128. And a final row, that row is of the objective function, will be replaced by the values 0, minus 6, 8, 0 and 128. Just look at the slide how these are changed. So all the values in the pivot column are now brought to 0 except the pivot. So this is what we wanted, but we have not achieved the final solution. Our aim here is to convert the objective row values as non-negative values. Either those should be 0 or positive values. Now we are left with one negative value, and the same operation will be done on this particular row also. Again we will find out the pivot column, again we will find the pivot row, and again we will convert the values in the pivot column as 0, and then we will have another table.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. There is a call from Punjab. I think we should take the call first. Hello. Hello.
Hello, what is the question?
Hello,
Yes, please ask a question.
my name is Jagsir Singh.
Yes.
Hello, yes.
Yes, please ask a question. We're waiting for your question.
Yes, my question is this.
What?
What is your question?
My question is this, that when we do operation, there is some problems.
Yes.
There are some problems. You want
Please,
to
please
ask?
Continue your question.
You can.
आप हिंदी में भी अपना प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं अगर आपको दिक्कत है अंग्रेजी में पूछने में.
हिंदी में पूछिए, पंजाबी में पूछिए.
You will tell me that problem.
The question is regarding the problems that while conducting this operation research, there are certain problems. I think how to identify those problems basically, or regarding the formulation, though you talked about the formulation of the problems.
Okay, yeah, I think you have missed my earlier 2 lectures in which I said what is operations research and what are its applications. Under those applications, I gave an idea of problems which can be solved using operations research as a tool. Okay, in operations research is nothing but using mathematical principles or mathematical theory to get a solution to the problem. This is the main meaning of operations research. And operations research is also called operation research, operational research, decision science and management science. In all the functional areas of the organization, we can make use of operations research to get a solution to our problem. Wherever a problem can be converted into mathematical form, its solution is possible in operations research. Any problem, first understand it thoroughly, then convert into a mathematical form. When we convert it to a mathematical form, we call it formulate the problem. When the formulation is over, means conversion has been done to mathematical equations, then we use different methods to get the solution. I have discussed graphical method, I have also discussed software, and now I am discussing the most popular method, which is called simplex method. And in this case, we are using linear programming. What is linear programming? Where all the constraints and the objective function are in the form of linear equations. Linear equation means all the variables are having a power of unity, not more than unity. And this is linear programming using simplex method. I hope I have cleared your doubt. So let me now continue.
I too hope that the caller might have got the answer. और अगर आपको कभी भी दिक्कत हो कि आप अपना सवाल अंग्रेजी में ना पूछ पाएं तो आप बिल्कुल अपना सवाल हमसे हिंदी में पूछ सकते हैं।
हिंदी में पूछिए, हम हिंदी में भी जवाब देंगे। हाँ।
जी जी सर, continuing our lecture further.
Yeah. So in the now objective row, I said the solution to this problem will be when all the values in the objective row are positive values. So here we are left with one negative value, we will change it to positive value. Similarly, this is our second table.
Sorry to interrupt you again, sir. There is another caller from Punjab.
Yeah. Please.
Hello.
Please पूछिए, अपना प्रश्न पूछिए.
हेलो,
Hello.
हाँ जी.
हमने वो बीमारी के बारे में पूछना था, दौरे की।
प्लीज जरा जोर से बोलें जिससे कि आपकी आवाज हम तक पहुंच पाए।
बताइए क्या सवाल है आपका?
I'm very sorry, my dear friend. This lecture is not about the health issues. It is about the operations research, and it is also a humble request to all the listeners, all the callers who are calling us. Please ask questions relevant to this topic. Yes, sir. We are talking about these tables. Continuing our lecture further with the
Our management problems, organizational problems, where we can convert the problem into mathematical form and we get a solution to our problem using OR techniques. And pivoting, again we will do the pivoting, follow the rules for finding a pivot on your second table. Pivot as before. Continue this process until there are no negative entries in the objective row. And this will be your final table. This is called the optimal table. So in the further, this was the table. The most negative value is -6. Of course, this is the only negative value, so we will pick up this as a pivot column. So this is our pivot column under C, and then we will see how the pivot row is chosen. Okay, how the pivot row is chosen? Again, half and the values in the value column, 8 will be divided by half, 1 will be divided by half. If I divide 8 by half, it is 16. If I divide 1 by half, it is 2. Out of the 16 and 2, the lower value is 2. 2 belongs to the second row. Second row is the pivotal row. So we have identified pivotal column, pivotal row, and where they cross, the figure is half. Half is the pivot. We can divide entire row values with half to make the pivot as 1, as we did in the previous step. So it has been done also. So C is the entering variable. The variable which is written in the pivot column, C is the entering variable, and T is of course the outgoing variable, leaving variable. Okay. So how now we have to convert the first half value in the first row as 0, and the second is the pivot, and the last -6 again to 0. Again, just look at the step, how this has been converted. It has been subtracted. Half minus half is 0, so this makes the cell 0. Half minus 1, again we get half minus half is 1. Of course, the second half is with the negative sign, and 0 minus 1 is -1, 8 minus 1 is 7. So this is the way how we got the first row in the second table against D. D 1, 0, 1, -1 and 7, and similarly under C we will see how we get the values, because C also is to be converted to 0. So and Z is also to be converted to 0. Z of course had -6 value, and this is to be converted to 0. How this will be converted? Again, we will see how we are going to multiply and how we are going to subtract. So Z -6 has been converted to 0. Okay, and finally we get the values in the value table as 7, 2 and 140. Look at the Z value table. Z value table, of course the values in the cells are under D the value is 0, under C the value is 0, under S the value is 2, under T the value is 12, and under the column value the Z value is 140. Now if we look at the objective function row, which is the last row, which is the row which contains Z, that gives us the optimal solution or value of the objective function, which of course is 140, and it doesn't have any negative value. If it doesn't have any negative value, then it shows that it is our optimal solution. The value against D is 7, value against C is 2, so means if we produce 7 number of dolls, if we produce 2 number of cars, our objective function, rather our profit will be 140, and that is going to be the maximum profit. And this is the way to solve the problem. Now this problem has been solved. Now if we go back to our earlier solution, which we got through graphical method, again in graphical method, number of dolls to be produced was 7, number of cars to be produced was 2, and the total profit, rather maximum profit, was 140. And we also use software. In the software also at the same optimal solution we achieved. Number of dolls as 7, number of cars as 2, and the objective function value as 140. This is a simplex method of solving the linear programming problem. So finally we will have the optimal table, and we call it optimal tableau. This is the final table. Here in this table, as I have already explained, we have to see first thing, all the values in the objective function row, the row which contains the Z, all are positive value, either 0 or positive value. It means this table belongs to the optimal solution because it doesn't have any negative values in the objective row. Now objective row, no negative values, then the value in the value column will be the maximum profit or the value of the objective function. So 140 is the value of the objective function. Now against D, the value in the value column is 7. So number of dolls to be manufactured 7, number of cars to be manufactured 2.
Sir, because time with us is very less left,
Yeah.
so I would like you to sum it up so that we could wind up this lecture. It is possible for you to wind it up soon?
Yeah, I am going to do it. Okay. So there are no negative entries in the objective row. So this is the method which is called simplex method, and it has steps to be followed properly so that we go to the optimal solution. Things to remember: formulate the problem, don't forget non-negativity constraint, and we have to introduce slack variables to convert the inequality sign to equality sign. Then first make the table, okay, see the objective row and pick up the most negative value, that will be pivotal column. Then we have to identify the pivotal row and go on doing it, and finally all the values in the pivot column are to be brought to 0 by suitably multiplying, adding or subtracting the pivot row. So
hope
this
the
is a way for
students-
maximization problem, and we have a different method, slightly different method for minimization problem. In the subsequent lecture we will cover that method
Definitely,
also.
Dr. Subhash Kakkar will be again with us tomorrow in this EduSec lecture of ours, and if you have any queries related to this very topic, definitely you can call us tomorrow. Thank you so very much, Dr. Subhash Kakkar, for being with us
Thank
in
you.
this EduSec lecture. Thank you.